The female CEO just fired an employee for slacking off at work, but the next second her assistant rushed in with bad news. The mechanical department suddenly malfunctioned, and all service systems crashed one after another. Over 20 senior executives were completely helpless. The CEO was so furious she exploded on the spot. Tony, who was in charge of the project, had just been fired not long ago. Angry calls from investors came flooding in, warning that if the problem wasn't fixed by tomorrow, they'd switch to another company, and the company would face a bankruptcy crisis. It was only at that moment that the CEO truly realized how important Tony was. Turns out Tony wasn't just the tech director, he was the core backbone of the company, and also her boyfriend of 10 years. For the past decade Tony worked tirelessly, supporting the entire tech department, and successfully helped the company go public. Tony thought once the company went public, the CEO would fulfill her promise and marry him, but to his shock, what he got instead was a termination notice. Tony couldn't believe it. He had fought for her for 10 years, only to be thrown away like trash. Overwhelmed with despair, Tony was completely drained, and eventually died with regret. Perhaps fate took pity on him. He was reborn 10 years in the past, on the very day the CEO forced him to sign a lifetime contract. Back then the CEO thought she had full control over Tony, saying if he didn't sign the contract, he could forget about marrying her. But having lived a second life, Tony saw through the relationship completely, and immediately refused to be fooled again. He decisively signed the resignation letter instead. The CEO was stunned. She never thought obedient Tony would rebel. What shocked her even more was that Tony brought up compensation. According to their early startup agreement, he was entitled to 2% of the company's shares. Hearing that, the CEO was furious, rushed forward and slapped him, then sneered and replied. The share agreement Tony signed back then didn't have the company stamp, and warned him that if he quit now he'd get nothing. Hearing this made Tony furious. He recalled the countless patents he developed on his own, which the CEO now completely claimed as hers. What hurt him even more was the CEO shamelessly saying all those patents were under her name. Heartbroken, Tony turned and walked away. Soon after, the CEO hired a highly educated tech director to take over. The new guy even mocked Tony for only having an associate degree, claiming he could take the company to the next level. But the very next moment, reality slapped her in the face. Once Tony left, the company's systems suffered major failures. The new tech director was totally lost, and insisted the system was designed by top international experts. But the partners were speechless, because that exact system was handcrafted by Tony. If he were still around, he could fix it in just a few hours. Only then did the CEO realize Tony's true value. With no other choice, she dialed Tony's number, but Tony had already cut all ties. He ignored her pleas completely, and hung up right away. Meanwhile, the company was in crisis. The assistant told the CEO, if the system wasn't fixed in 3 days, they'd have to pay $200 million in penalties. With no other option, the CEO went to find Tony herself and ask for help. At the same time, the business partners also reached out to Tony, kneeling and begging him to fix the system, because they had taken on several big contracts, and failure to deliver on time would lead to massive losses. Seeing their desperation, Tony sighed, and agreed to step in and fix it. The partners were instantly relieved, and immediately promised that once the project was done, they'd transfer all contracts originally with the